Hi fellow crafters! In today's video, I'm going to show you a beautiful fancy fold card idea that has a fun surprise inside. I'm going to be using my Beauty of Friendship bundle, a leftover piece of the Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper, and I'm going to introduce a brand new stamp set that will be available to you next month. Be sure to watch all the way through my video for my bonus tips and design ideas and to see a second card idea using this technique. You ready to get started? Hey everyone, I'm Terri and I'm nuts about stamping. I love sharing techniques and project ideas for rubber stamping, scrapbooking, and paper crafting with you each week. Be sure to hit that red subscribe button and the bell beside it so that you'll be the first to be notified when my next video goes live. Now, let's create this fancy fold. Let's start off by looking at the Beauty of Friendship bundle. I really like this stamp set because of its tree images, which is good for all 4 seasons. And then it has a variety of phrases, so it's also good for a variety of occasions. The Beautiful Trees dies has dies that match the trees inside the stamp set. It also has 2 frames, which are perfect for die cutting the words. And then it has this really cute set of birds dies, which are fun to add to the trees. You'll be seeing this in use for my card today. And if you would like another Beauty of Friendship card idea, you might want to check out this video after this one is over. I'm going to start off with a piece of basic white. I've cut it 11 by 4 1/4 and I've scored it on the 5 1/2 mark. And my card is going to be a landscape layout. Now, when I introduced the video, I said I was going to use some leftover Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper. And I'm actually going to be using 3 pieces. I'm going to use this pattern for the front of my card. So I'll attach that first, and then I'll be using 2 more pieces for the inside of the card, which I'll show you in a few minutes. The next thing that I want to do, I'm going to set this aside. The next thing I want to do is I want to do some die cutting. So here is one of the dies in the Beautiful Trees dies pack, and I'm going to use a piece of cinnamon cider to die cut this tree out. And then for the top of the tree, I have a piece of mossy meadow and this die. So I'm going to die cut this first. Let me move this out of the way. And I'll bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I'll set this down and I'll die cut it out. And then we'll move on to the next step in making this really fancy fold card. So those pieces are die cut, and I could lay this on, and I will eventually, but I think that's quite plain. So in the same pack of dies, the Beautiful Trees dies, there is this die. And I have another leftover piece of the Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper, and I'm going to die cut this next and then lay it on top of the mossy meadow layer, just to give my tree a little bit more visual interest. And this will coordinate perfectly with the layer that I've already attached to the front of the card. I have my 3 pieces all ready to go, and what I'm going to do is add a little bit of glue. I have my multi-purpose liquid glue here, and I'm just going to add some spots of glue that will help adhere this paper, the Designer Series paper, to the green leafy tree top. And so I will lay that on like so. Oh, so pretty. And then this will go onto the tree. So let me just bring back in my card front. Here it is here. And what I want to do next is adhere the tree down. So again, I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue, and it's fine to me if my tree pops up a little bit. And that doesn't really bother me visually. I think it adds interest to the card if it's not all adhered perfectly flat. To me, flat is a little bit boring. Okay, let me move this out of the way. And I will attach the tree like so. And then I think what I'll do is I will add some Stampin' Dimensionals to my card, or to my tree, sorry, distracted by the siren that just went by my window. There we go. And I will add this treetop like so. Now, I'm going to do a phrase next. From the Beauty of Friendship stamp set, I have this phrase that says, friendships refresh the soul. And I have a scrap piece of basic white cardstock, and I'm going to use cinnamon cider to stamp my phrase down onto this piece of basic white. Like so. And then I have a piece of Mary Merlot, and I'm going to adhere the phrase layer to the Mary Merlot layer. Mary Merlot is one of the colors in the Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper. So I'm trying to color coordinate everything. Okay, and then I will turn this over, and I wonder where I will put it. Maybe I'll put it up near the top. I usually do my phrases down near the bottom, but let's try and be a bit different on this fancy fold card. So let's do that. All right, so there is the front of my card ready to go. I think it's looking quite lovely, quite colorful. Now, let's work on the inside of the card and how to create this fun surprise inside. To create some fun elements for the inside of my card, I have 3 pieces of basic white cardstock. And on each of those, I'm going to stamp an image from the Nuts About Squirrels stamp set. This stamp set is going to be available for you to order when the next mini catalog goes live, which is the 3rd of August. If you've placed an order with me in the last 6 months, watch your mailbox. This catalog probably should have arrived by now. If it hasn't, it should arrive within the next week. And it features a bunch of new products, one of them being the Nuts About Squirrels stamp set. And I just think it's so playful and so fun. And I also think it would be a really good match with the trees in the Beauty of Friendship stamp set. So what I'm going to do is stamp that image, which actually is 2 stamps. So this is like a 2-step stamping technique. Try and say that 3 times fast. So I'm going to, this time, normally I would stamp the solid image, and then on top I would stamp the outline image. But I'm going to do the reverse this time around because it's easier to see what I'm doing and where I'm placing the next stamp. So I'm going to use Early Espresso, and I'm going to stamp, I'll show you one, and then I'll do the other 2 next. So I'm going to stamp the squirrel, the outline stamp for the squirrel, down on this little piece of cardstock. I've cut it quite narrow. And then I'm going to use cinnamon cider, again, one of the colors in the paper, and what I've used for the phrase on the front. And I'm going to ink up the filler stamp, and it's really easy to tell where you should be stamping down because the outline is already there. And there we go. Isn't that just such a cute little stamp? I love it. I'm nuts about squirrels, I guess. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to fussy cut this out. Fussy cutting is a technical stamping word that means you're going to use your paper scissors and you're going to cut it out with scissors because there is no matching die for this squirrel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the exact same thing 2 more times. I'm going to do the outline and then fill it, and then the outline and then fill it, and then I'm going to use my paper snips and I'm going to cut all 3 squirrels out. When I've completed that, I'll come back and I'll show you how we create this fancy fold inside the card. There we go. My 3 squirrels are all ready for the next step in this card. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach each one of them to a square of cinnamon cider cardstock. And I'm going to do that by using a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals on each squirrel. Okay, here's the last squirrel. So I've got all 3 of them adhered to the squares using Stampin' Dimensionals. Now I'm going to bring back in my card base and I'm going to open it up. And remember a few minutes ago I told you I was going to use 3 pieces of Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper. Well, here are the other 2, and I'm going to adhere them next onto the inside of my card. You know, I got this idea from somebody who is not a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and she got this idea from somebody who is a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. So all of us crafters around the world share ideas and techniques with each other, and then we can take these ideas and make them our own, which is what I'm doing with these stamp sets and this paper. So I hope you'll do the same. I hope you'll take this idea and you'll create the same kind of fancy fold technique using what you have on hand at home. All right, so while that is drying, I'm going to bring in a piece of Misty Moonlight cardstock, and I'm going to use my bone folder, and I'm going to fold it in half like so, and then take my bone folder and burnish the crease. Then I'm going to open it up and I'm going to take this end and I'm going to fold it in to the crease and crease it, burnish that side, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side and make that nice and tight. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the reverse. I just want these to be nice and flexible. So just crease it back and forth a little bit, like so. Now, I'm going to bring in my card base, and what I'm going to do is I am going to attach my strip on the inside like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it in just a little bit. I'm not going to put it flush with the Designer Series paper. I'm going to move it in about 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/2 centimeter. And then I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal. So what I'm going to do is put Stampin' Seal on, just on the left flap. And I'm going to put it pretty close to, but not right up to the edge like that. And then I'm going to turn this flap over and I'm going to put Stampin' Seal on it. And then before I adhere it down, I'm going to make sure that the center crease, it lines up with the center crease on my card. And then again, I am going to bring it in just a little bit, like so, because you want it to create this lift. It looks like an M, but it's actually a W fold, this fancy fold inside the card. So it's kind of like a pop-up card, but not really. Now, what I want to do next is I want to attach my squirrels to my strip of cardstock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Stamp and Seal and put just a little bit in the center and then attach my squirrel. Not sure how high or how low I want him to be. And then I'm going to do the same over on this side, like so. And I'll put a squirrel there. And then I'm going to do this squirrel here. And then I have one leftover spot. So as you can see, I have this leftover piece for the strip. And what I want to do for that is create a phrase. So I have a leftover piece of basic white cardstock, and I have the You Truly Inspire Me stamp from the Beauty of Friendship stamp set. And I'm going to ink it up using Misty Moonlight, because that's a lovely coordinating color for this card project idea. I'm going to stamp it down like so. And then I have a fourth and final square of the cinnamon cider. So what I'll do is use some of my multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'll glue this phrase down like so. And then when it's dry, which only takes a couple of seconds, then what I'll do is I will attach it to the last open section on the Misty Moonlight strip. All right, I think it's dry enough, so I will add some Stamp and Seal, and I will attach this down like so. And then, look at this. Here's my card. Friendships refresh the soul. You truly inspire me. Isn't that a really fun fancy fold card idea? Now, let me show you another fancy fold using a completely different set of products, but the exact same fancy fold technique. For my second card idea, I used the Color and Contour bundle, which is the Color and Contour stamp set, and the Scalloped Contours dies. And I also used, for my designer series paper, a pack that will be available next month with Stampin' Up's celebration event. Begins the 3rd of August and ends the 30th of September. Now, if you don't know what celebration is all about, it's really fun. For every $50 or 60 euros in products that you purchase out of either the annual catalog or mini catalog or a combination of both, so for a $50 order or 60 euros, you get to choose a product in this mini catalog for free. So as a demonstrator, we get that same opportunity a month before you get to purchase. So I chose the beautifully pinned designer series paper from one of my free choices, and I created this fancy W fold card using the beautifully penned paper and the Color and Contour stamp set. So I used one of the images, the paper, and the phrase, and then when you open it up, it's got the beautiful pink flowers and pink phrase inside like that. So you can see that once you know how to do this fancy fold, you can use whatever you have on hand to create beautiful cards to share with somebody special. If you would like a complete listing of the supplies that I used and the measurements for all of the bits and pieces for the cardstock layers, head on over to my blog, www.nutsaboutstamping.com. While you're on my blog, I invite you to join my free mailing list. You can subscribe, and I send out 2 newsletters a week, and in each newsletter, I'll share a project idea that you won't see anywhere else. I'm Terri. I am nuts about stamping. I hope you'll try this fancy fold card technique someday soon. Bye for now.